Bobby Johnson, well done, Manchester United.
Beckham into Sheringham, and Solskjaer has won it! And it's half saved it! United again! Ready! A magnificent goal by Robin van Persie!
Welcome to United Hour, your official Red Cafe podcast for all things Manchester United. I'm your host, Nick.
I'm Colm.
And I'm Raess.
Yeah, welcome to Raess. First appearance on the podcast for you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Red Cafe veteran, so yeah, for sure. Anybody who's come over from there will have seen various of your threads and whatever.
Anybody who's anybody will know Raess.
Yeah, they know me for my various rants about various issues. Try and be more calmer.
And I know you've just started some kind of YouTube stuff, right? I forget what the name of the channel is. I have watched it. I thought it was some quite good stuff.
So the channel's Pythagoras in Boots. It's just general football analysis. So try not to take your United share of the market.
Yeah, no. And as I say, yeah, it's worth a look. I've watched a couple of your videos and some interesting analysis there. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. Last time we recorded, I think I wasn't actually on it, but I think you were all in quite good mood after beating Leicester. Since then, we've had 3 matches: Astana, West Ham, Rochdale, and yeah, things are not quite in such a good mood, basically. We're recording this actually just literally, half an hour after we've got through a penalty shootout against Rochdale. So yeah, things could be better, but yeah, I guess they could be worse, right, Colm? At least we won that penalty shootout.
Yeah, they could be worse, and that we could have just been put out of the cup by Rochdale. It's been a tough week and a half. So there hasn't really been any massive redeeming factors about any of it. I think we look a little bit lost. We certainly look totally bereft of confidence, and just very disjointed and poorly coached. It's a bit of a struggle at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually been to 2 of these games as well. I was at Astana and West Ham away. We'll get onto those a bit. But look, let's start with the Rochdale game because, like I say, it's just fresh out of that one. I mean, yeah, one of the main themes I want to kind of focus on for this podcast is about the young players because I think everybody's been itching to see some of these play. So, yeah, we've had a good look now in Astana and Rochdale. At Greenwood, Chong, Tuanzebe tonight, Gomez last week unfortunately was injured today. He was actually the one that I really did want to see a bit more of. Mm-hmm. And then we did also see out the blue, Williams came on at half time for Jones today. Unsurprisingly, Jones is injured after 45 minutes of football, but yeah, I guess that's one of the recurring themes we're all used to nowadays. But yeah, look, let's talk about these young players first, and before we really get into the game, because yeah, for me, that's the most interesting thing that's come out of these last few matches. I personally really like. I think Greenwood has bailed us out. 2 goals in his 2 starts, and It's a shame he was ill midweek because we really lacked somebody up front. The one I'm not sure about at all is Chong. Even in pre-season, I hadn't seen too much that I thought that was really worthy of pushing into the first team, but you kind of assume that the coaches on the pitch see a bit more than that. But yeah, still, I'm not seeing much in Chong at all to be saying he should be pushing for the first team pace. Tuanzebe looking good and was actually captain tonight, which I thought quite a shock decision, seeing some of the long-time pros who were on the pitch today, Jones, Pogba, etc. But what you're feeling on these young players, Raess? You excited about them? Who do you think's ready to make the step up?
So I'll start with Chong because you mentioned him first. I think based on what I saw from him last season, I thought this kid doesn't really have anything about him apart from a bit of pace. Watching him this season, I can see that he is developing, he is improving, but the question is he improving enough to be at the level to be starting for Manchester United or even being a squad player at Manchester United? I think his attitude is good. He's very enthusiastic, he's infectious. You can tell he tracks back. So in that sense, mentally, he seems like he'd be a good fit at United. My problem with him is technically there's not much about him. So skill-wise, he doesn't really have many tricks in his lockers to beat players. And even if we were trying to see him more in the mold of an old school dribbler like a Ryan Giggs or Leroy Sané in the modern sense, he doesn't quite have the balance to make players sort of get twisted in and out and then get past them and put a cross in. He kind of always has to go back and pass it. So he seems quite a limited player. Don't know what Colm thinks.
I totally agree. Sort of said it a few times this year already. and it was something that I thought was prevalent in pre-season. I think he's been a player that in the youth setup has relied on his natural abilities, his pace, his physicality, and I think his kind of his personality, as Reece alluded to, I think he has a very direct style about him. I think he backs himself, which is good. But I think when you make that jump up in level, where you're going up against proper defenders, good defenders, committed defenders, physical defenders, and athletic defenders who are, every way of the match. And he's still a boy. He's a thin-framed boy, really still. And I think he's really been found out to not have the technical quality to back up his physical attributes that really aren't carrying through from the youth team. I think his touch is just poor. I think when he gets the ball down and goes at someone, it's very Bambi on ice. It's kind of Halloween feet. You never know where the ball's going to go 10 yards or 2 yards in front of him. It really doesn't seem to be in control of himself. Much in the mould of Danny Welbeck, or sometimes we still see with Rashford. And to me, it's in such stark contrast to the like of Gomez, who just always has the ball on a string. The ball control is just there at a high level, and for me that makes it so easy for him to transition into the top levels of football if we were ever interested in trying to play that way. But Chong, I thought he was absolutely awful against Astana. You don't want to be too harsh on them at the end of the day. They're being thrust into a difficult position, but at the same time we have to be, you can't just, we just want them to be a success, but that has to be petered out with a bit of sense as well, and I just don't think Chong has it. I thought Astana, he was as bad as I've seen. Like it was comical stuff at times, and it seemed to affect him mentally. He just got worse and worse and worse and was never be taken off. And I don't think tonight was much better at all, I have to say. I'm struggling to think of any positive things he did.
I think his passing today was decent.
In terms, like I only saw 10-yard passes going backwards. Do you know what I mean? I'm not
yeah,
sure
there was quite a few
else.
occasions when I thought he could have pushed forward and he's just, playing a simple pass back. And then the few times he's tried to take somebody on, he's like lost the ball in his feet a couple of times. And
the one that sticks in my mind is the breakaway. I mean, we were mostly playing against 2 banks of 4, 2 banks of 5 in that game, but there was one breakaway and he played it early at right there. Prayer floated to the back post, nice ball actually for a Rojo header. But Chong was driving through the very middle of the pitch. He had Rojo on his left, he had Greenwood in front of him, and he had Prayer wide right, and they were driving at 2 or 3 players. And he drove the ball on for about 5 or 10 yards and then played this nothing ball behind Pereira that, for me, completely killed the move. And I put all the responsibility on Pereira. To me, it said, I don't want to have to make this decision, basically. I'm not backing myself enough to really take this up to commit one of the defenders and play the pass that needed to be played, which was to get us further up the pitch and actually slip someone in. Rojo could have been slipped in for a chance, with the ball at his feet, rather than this sort of nothing ball out to Pereira, and then all the onus was on Pereira to then try and make a play. But he was then further right with less options and played a decent ball to Rojo, and that one kind of sticks in the mind for me. And I just think he just hasn't taken any of the opportunities he's been given over the past 2 games, and I think the technical level is not there at the moment.
Yeah, so I think we're all on the same page on Chong there. Look, on a more positive side, let's talk about Greenwood, who has delivered in his 2 starts.
Ballon d'Or winner, future Ballon d'Or winner.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, look, let's throw all that pressure on him straight away.
He's got 2 great feet and penalty with his right, so it must be a nightmare for defenders having him one-on-one in the box, because he, as you say, he can go both ways, and which is for me fantastic. And you can just see he's got quality, and he'll get his share of games.
He's had 2 starts, 2 goals, and 2 really good finishes, and really, bailed us out in matches where it was looking like we're not going to get that breakthrough. And yeah, he's the one who's kind of made the difference in there. And you can see as well that he's had other chances. The keeper made a couple of good saves. There's a couple of times he's a yard off. And yeah, look, he is really looking like he should be getting more playing time. I was actually pretty disappointed against Astana that he played Greenwood outright and played Rashford central, whereas I was hoping Greenwood would play striker, and then Rashford can come in from wide and not get him over there. But yeah, he's done it the other way round. But also, yeah, it's not just his finishing. He actually had one really good cross in that Pogba should have put away. So yeah, he's showing that he's got more in his thing than just finishing off moves as well. I'm guessing both of you guys are both pretty positive about Greenwood, right?
If we're looking at his youth performances, if we're talking in terms of style, a lot of people have mentioned Van Persie. I actually think he has a bit of Rivaldo in him.
Yeah, interesting.
In the sense that he's quite slow, but he's quite explosive in little bursts as well. And he's just his dribbling style, and he's got a good pass on him and a good cross on him as well. which I think Van Persie, as good as he was, I don't think his passing was necessarily that great, but I have seen Greenwood hit some really good passing. Hasn't quite shown it, I don't think, since his transition to the first team. I've been slightly disappointed. I know he scored 2 goals, and this has been extremely harsh, but I think in terms of his dynamism and his presence throughout games, I think he kind of goes missing throughout the game, and then he has a great moment. And I think compared to someone like Rashford, who's always in the game, and you're like, why are you in the game so much? I want to see less of you. With Greenwood, you want to see more of him. You want him to have more touches in the game.
My big thing in that Astana game, I totally agree, but my big thing was, when did he score that winner? Was it the 88th minute or something like that?
74th or something? I can't remember. Something like that.
Yes, it was late on anyway in the second half. And I was just like, why is it taking us as a team 75 minutes to put Greenwood in the box with the ball at his feet? Because that was basically the first chance. And obviously some of that is down to him to get into the right positions. But that was really the first time. I think he picked it up, just kind of slightly outside the 6-yard box on the angle and just squared up his man, cuts inside, does that sort of step over fake that he likes and drills it in. It's a great goal. But as a team, why are we struggling so much to put our players in positions that favour them in that way? And I think a lot of that probably was down to him starting off the right. And I do agree, he has been really only in games at kind of key moments. And certainly as a number 9, I think, and this is like, you're talking about an extremely, extremely young man who hasn't, come into his physicality yet or anything like that. So you can't really expect him to be leading the line and the whole of play and everything to be there. But he is quite reserved in his movements and his involvements, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if there's a very good team behind him who are capable of constantly putting him in, in these good positions. But unfortunately, we're, I think, country miles away from that. So the fact that he is getting such limited chances, I think, is more down to the team not being able to really put him in those positions, and him just being not that kind of player who's gonna, lead the line like a Rashford would, and or like Rashford used to, I should say, and sort of harry the back line and create chances from his own endeavours and things like that. Although he definitely, he can beat a man, great shot. What I just liked so much tonight in a sea of absolute garbage was that he's so willing just to have a pop, and it's not always coming off. There was the one where he was sort of through on goal from further back in the halfway line, knew he was being caught up, so just popped it off on target. Another one where he took it off Pogba's foot, trickled past the right hand post but very close. Snapshots, anything around the box, he just looks so sharp, so in control, and really, really calm in a way that I don't think a lot of our other senior players manage. And his goal is the perfect example. There's no rush. He's in control, and he just needs that half a yard to get the snapshot away. If you put Lingard in that position, he will never score that goal. Whereas with Greenwood, you feel he'll score that goal 10, 15 times a season. It's down to the point where it's not even, it's not up to chance. He's just totally in control of that situation. He knows what he's doing. He can strike off either foot, and it's just all good. And I'm hugely impressed by him. I think there's a lot more to come, but unfortunately, he probably will be thrust into it this year, but that's probably wrong, to be honest.
Well, it's looking like he's going to have to start against Arsenal because, obviously Martial is still out, I assume, and Rashford is definitely not playing in that game. We did actually have a question from Red Cafe, which was from Free Your Mind, but maybe it's irrelevant now because he said if Rashford, Martial and Greenwood are all out, who will start up front for us against Arsenal? So, I'm assuming Greenwood is going to be fine to start over there, but who would be next in line?
I think Dan James can do a good job up front.
That was actually the first name that came to me. Against West Ham, Jesse Lingard ended up playing number 9 and was obviously looking nowhere near like the right player to be playing in that position.
The falsest 9 of all.
The falsest 9 of all. But actually Dan James was the one that came to my mind as well. I think there is a couple of youngsters, but I think they're way off. There's I can't remember his name, Ramazani or something, who's scored a few goals from there and has been with the first team squad a bit, but I don't think he's anywhere near ready for that step up yet. But Dan James was the first one that came to my mind, really. I can't really see who else it might be.
I think that's the only logical choice, to be honest with you.
And even in that, I think you have to play a very certain kind of way, because Dan James isn't going to give you a lot of things that you're going to want from a number 9, although he did seem to go to number 9 late on against West Ham, and I thought we looked better for it before the second goal. It totally killed us off.
He looked like a Michael Owen.
Yeah, I thought he looked really nippy, and I think he puts the kind of fear God into the centre backs as well, and keeps them very earnest in terms of his pace in behind and just nipping around the place. And you're not going to want to play him number 9 for a whole season. He's not a number 9, but as a patchwork job, if the rest of the team's fine, I think he can do a very decent job there. And he's another one who's very happy just to have a pop from anywhere and seems to have a good success rate with that so far. So
Yeah, we'll say, although we did slag off Lingard, he did get the assist today, which I think breaks that horrible record he'd had for going, I don't know even how many months it was without any kind of goal or assist.
I'm giving him zero credit for that whatsoever. I have to say, I thought he was awful today.
Barely an assist.
He was awful. I generally he came off at like the 60th minute. It was generally the first time that I actually remembered he was on the pitch, and against a team like that for a senior squad member who's supposedly our first choice number 10, it was a nail in the coffin performance for me personally. As a starter.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, that is still been our big question since the very first part of the season is who should be playing number 10? I think both me and you, Colm, a couple of weeks ago said, look, at the moment, the best of a bad bunch is probably Juan Mata. But, he ends up sometimes playing wide and he's not been so great in these last couple of matches. I don't know about you, Reese. Who would be your choice right now for playing in that number 10 position?
There's only one name in that squad that can play at 10, and that's probably Gomez for me. He's a natural.
Real shame that he didn't manage to play today. It was only that Astana game that we've really had any look at him. There was a couple of times this season where Chong's been ahead of him on the bench that I wasn't that happy about either, because for me, I'm more interested in seeing more of Gomez. It does seem at the moment that Ole, maybe just because obviously Chong is more of a wide player and we do have those other options more centrally, that he's giving more chances to him. But yeah, no, I think everybody really does want to see more of him. But yeah, you think he's really made for that number 10 position?
Yeah, I mean, I just think the one thing that's holding United back, I mean, this is a wider scale rant, is the lack of modernization in our football club, the way we see things and the way we think about the game from a philosophical perspective. And I think someone like Gomez is so like your prototype Man City, Liverpool player right now. He's the one that plays in that modern tiki-taka style, is really comfortable in tight spaces, has a little bit of dynamism to him. He's not explosive, but he's quick enough to leave people unbalanced and quickly make a pass or get a shot off within that number 10 role. Whereas we're going for either old school players that Mata, who's for me completely past it. And I mean, I've never thought he should have been a United player in the first place. He's just a wrong fit for the club, I think, personally. And Lingard, I mean, Colm's pretty much summed up Lingard. I think he's not good enough for United and never will be. I'm not saying Gomez is the long-term answer for that position. I'm just saying right now, based on the current squad, he's probably the only one that is worth taking a gamble on, because he could turn into a good player. He might not, but he's got the potential to, whereas the other guys are just 100% they're not good enough.
Yeah, I guess Mata's had a few chances there. Lingard's played a few games. Pereira had a bit of a chance, but then has mostly been played out wide. I actually thought Pereira had a pretty decent game today.
Yeah, I thought he was good today. Yeah,
agreed.
Although I think Pereira is a bit of a flat track bully in that sense, and I think he looks great every pre-season as well. And I think when it gets into the thick of the Premier League and the quality ups a bit, I think he very quickly diminishes in terms of his impact on a game. But yeah, today particularly off the left, but generally I thought he was good from everywhere. He was the only one actually trying things, little drop balls in, and hardly any of them were coming off, but at least you felt if someone was pressing the issue, it was him, and he is dynamic and loves to get about the place. For me, a handy squad player, but he shouldn't be getting anywhere near the amount of minutes that he is.
Yeah, I agree with that. And against West Ham, he's not getting enough from him. Same Leicester. He's somebody, if a couple of players are out, you don't mind him coming in from the bench. But yeah, for him to be a first 11 choice, I was happy for him to get his chance this year after being in and around the squad for a couple of years, but he's not really taken it. I mean, bizarrely, for a kind of player who's supposed to have a bit of Brazil in him and those skills, I actually see his kind of defensive play as actually being the better side of his game, the pressing and closing down people, whereas just not seen enough from him on the kind of creativity and assist side, which is what we're so lacking again and again and again. Especially, when Pogba had been out for these few matches. I mean, Pogba was far from great today, but I think we really do need him back in when we're coming up against Arsenal next week. And hopefully it was just him getting a bit back up to speed and it'll be better by Monday night. But the other player we've not really mentioned of the youngsters is Tuanzebe, who was captain tonight and has already become a bit of a fan favourite. As I said, I was at the Astana game and I was actually in the kind of, it's it's done by these guys called the Red Army, who are now kind of taking control of like helping the atmosphere at the ground. They're trying to avoid using the term singing section because they don't really like that anymore. But for that Astana game, we were given the L stand, which is normally the away stand, but because Astana only bought a couple of hundred fans, we were given that, and that was actually the main highlight of the night. That the atmosphere was amazing, and Tuan Zebi has already got an amazing song that's one of the fan favourites.
I haven't heard it. Wouldn't mind a rendition.
Axel, Axel, sing it Tuan Zebi, Tuan Zebi, Axel, 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 sing it Tuan Zebi, Tuan Zebi.
Even though he's hardly had a couple of first team starts, he's already got a song that's going all around there. And yeah, these kind of things happen. I mean, before that, I'd say like the kind of J-Stand favourite was Herrera for a couple of years. Look at those kind of cult heroes for the stand over there. And yeah, at the moment, Tuan Zebi's already got a song. Greenwood's already got a song. So yeah, the fans in the stadium are trying to get behind these young guys. And I said, yeah, today's captain, which was quite a surprise. But yeah, I think they mentioned a few times on the telly that he's been captain at every level through United, been with the club since he was 8 years old. So I guess Ole's just trying to give him that bit of importance and say, look, you are a big part of the team here. I mean, I don't know what you guys thought about these 2 matches he's played. I would like against Astana, actually was a little bit disappointed in his distribution because I thought he gave the ball away a few times. But as a defender, he seems very solid. And at the moment, he's definitely third choice behind Maguire and Lindelof. I don't know, Colm, if you think he's knocking on that door to push into the first team or if it's still for you.
No, I don't. I still think it's going to be as and when cup games, Europa League, and the odd league game. I know Lindelof hasn't had a tremendous start to the season, but I don't actually think he's been bad. I think he's been hung out to dry slightly with a few of the kind of high-profile mistakes that he has made. I still think that's our pairing. Although Axel just looks superb. He's an absolute specimen. He speaks extremely well. He does seem like a leader. And he's just so solid. He's athletically very gifted. He's very combative, but he seems to read the game really well. And as I agree, people always tell me he's great with the ball at his feet, and so far I haven't really seen it. He certainly looks okay, and he's happy to step out and play forward passes, but it's still not what I think is required in terms of getting the ball moving quickly. But I'm really, really happy with him. I think he'll be a super player. I'm glad he's here for this season and wasn't loaned out or anything like that.
I think he's very much playing within his shell. I saw him a lot at Villa, and he grew within that season, but he wasn't quite as good as when he first made his debut for United. I remember him marking Alexis Sanchez out of a game, and his reading of the game was superb. And then he played a few games in defensive mid where he looked, I thought he was excellent on the ball in those.
That might have been a little hint at what was to come from Sanchez, in fairness.
True. And then I thought, bloody hell, we've got a young defender here. He's got a Ledley King sort of vibe about him. Since then, I'll be honest with you, I haven't been terribly impressed with his performances. I mean,
I don't think he's had anything to do. Do you know what I mean?
He's not had much to do. I get that. But I'm just saying, in terms of presence, in terms of, like you mentioned, you've said that you haven't noticed that he's that good on the ball. And that's because at the moment, he's not showing his full potential of what Tuan Zebi's about. And this decision to make him captain might be a masterstroke because it's giving him that big confidence boost that he needs because he's such a talented player, but he needs to believe in himself to show people I am a top defensive talent. And I think he's kind of lost that confidence a little bit.
No, it will be interesting to see how he progresses. I mean, there is question marks over our defence at the moment that even though, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire have come in and obviously make us look a lot better, for whatever reason, we are just conceding goals that we just shouldn't be conceding. We talked a lot about XG a couple of weeks ago. And if we look at our XG in all of these matches, it's basically saying that we shouldn't have conceded goals in any of these games. West Ham, Wolves, Palace, Southampton, they're all like XG is lower than 1, which is basically saying that we should have kept a clean sheet. And in all of those matches, we've conceded even 2 goals in some of them. That West Ham game, the XG for them is 0.5, whereas they've scored 2 goals there. So I don't know. There is something that's just not going right in our defence, and I don't know if you just think it's luck and it's going to even itself out, or why are we conceding these goals that just in theory should not be happening at all? I can't quite put my finger on it myself, and I don't know if it's about midfield protection or if it's down to defence, or I don't know. There's got to be something behind it.
It's a complete lack of control and structure. I mean, we're a team that doesn't know how they want to play football, and I think that's so obvious. And for me, I'm sure we'll get onto this later, but when it comes to the sort of Ole question and whether we back him or not, it's my biggest issue at the moment is that we look like such a poorly coached team. We look bereft of ideas. There doesn't seem to be a system. We talked about this pressing high, but that's one facet of football. It's not, it doesn't change what you do when you have the ball, and it doesn't change anything when teams are sitting in and stuff like that. And actually, I get that he hasn't probably had the personnel available to him, at all this season, really, that he would have wanted. But we should still be implementing the style that he wants, and I don't see it at all. I'm back to just watching us and thinking, what's the plan? And I just think that feeds into so much of our play in terms of our midfield not knowing what to do, and just at a baseline not being good enough and not knowing their rules. And I think that's a huge problem, and that creates issues for the defence, and it also creates issues for the attack, who equally just have no clue. Where should we be running? Where should we be going? Am I going to get an overlap from the fullback? Do I want that? Do I slip him in? Is my number 9 going to make a run when I have the ball deep, or does he want me to carry it up? All these questions that teams should know. We just seem to be constantly guessing and just going out there and going, well, just, express yourselves, it'll be grand. We have this fluid front three that can play anywhere, and that's all we need. Great, we're going to press, class. And it's just a rambling mess, basically. And that lack of structure, particularly when you're coming up against teams that, like a West Ham, who now do have absolute quality and are well coached. Manuel Pellegrini, absolutely no mug. Yarmolenko, great at Dortmund, not a bad player in any stretch of the imagination. The funds that every team has now means that they're going to be so well set up, so well coached, and you're not going to get any easy rides. And I think in terms of the XG, I just think it's a good stat in one sense, but it's deeply flawed. When we're 1-0 up and it's getting to the 30th minute, nothing's changed. 40th minute, we just don't look at all interested in scoring a second goal. We don't want to kill the team off. We haven't got established patterns of play that we just keep reverting to regardless of what the score is. We just kind of amble along, and the game is anyone's essentially, and we have no control over it. Then in the 60th, 70th minute, the ball just falls into the net, as you say. They're mad chances. You look at absolute pearlers being scored by Aaron Cresswell, who probably won't do for the rest of the season. You have the Wolves goal from the edge of the box, absolute perler. You have these crazy goals like against Crystal Palace, like their second goal, which is just a bumbling mess of a counter-attack that somehow beats the head, the near post. Individual errors are just these mad goals. But because you're only 1-0 up, and because you haven't controlled the game in any way, shape or form, and kind of put your foot on that other team's neck, you just invite that. And I almost think it becomes, football is so undulating, and we see so many things that seem so much like luck, but we see them so often, and that you see that across the league and across loads of teams. And that's because it's all about the kind of moment that when you're in a football match, and if you're West Ham, and you're still in this game and you're growing into the game and the crowd starts to get behind you, there's so many intangibles there that are just never going to show up in XG, but it's such a common theme that's why people say 1-0 is a risky scoreline, 2-0 is a risky scoreline, because the ball just kind of gets sucked into the net, and you just tend to make the most of your chances, and those players will give that extra little 5% or make that extra little run that they wouldn't do if they were being better controlled, i.e. we were constantly keeping the ball back, penning them in, creating chances, and ultimately scoring more goals, which is such a huge problem for us at the moment. And to me, that's a coaching issue and a personnel issue. Look, don't get me wrong, the players just aren't good enough.
Yeah, look, we have had 2 or 3 different questions on Red Cafe and from Twitter on this kind of theme, and I don't know what you think about it, Reece. And it's basically, the question is saying, look, what is the style that Ole's aiming for? What do you think he's actually, we're obviously whatever he's wanting.
Please enlighten me, Reece, please, because
whatever he's wanting, we're obviously not delivering it at the moment. But yeah, I still say, all right, if we look back to that period when he first came in and we were firing all on cylinders, the attack was looking great, scoring goals, moving freely, one-touch football, and I still always hope that, we can get back to that. That's like the kind of, dream that, it's going to click and we're going to get back to that. But what do you think is the kind of style that Ole wants us to be playing?
Okay, I'll start by going through phases of Ole's tenure because that's the only way I can try and reach a conclusion.
Yeah.
When he first came in, I think basically he said to the lads, you need to try and express yourselves, play the United way, as in press high up the pitch, win the ball back. As soon as you've got the ball, be quite direct with it, try and make chances, try and express yourselves, etc., etc. I think that worked while everyone was buzzing off the fact that Mourinho had finally done one. But then once it came down to the nitty gritty of actually coaching the team with proper modern day principles of ball possession, overlapping runs of fullbacks, just the way you structure a team, how you're meant to properly coach it. I think he's been found out because I don't think he really knows what he's doing. I think his overall thesis, I think, is to try and modernize the side by putting in some young players in. I think ideally that's where he wants to get to. So he's using Rashford as this focal point who can press the ball, and that will make the rest of the team press. So I think he's got some sort of a pressing ideology there. But in terms of the structure and patterns of play in attack, there's none. There's absolutely no patterns of play to the attack whatsoever. So that team is basically making it up as it goes along when it's got the ball. And that's why you're seeing such disjointed performances in attack, because there is no structure there. And in defensively, we've talked about pressing, but I'm talking about once people have beaten the press, how are you going to set the team up to react to the fact that they've broken through your press? The team doesn't really know what it's doing. I think we're fortunate now that we've got Wan-Bissaka there, who's a quality 1v1 defender. You've got Maguire there, who, that's a separate topic. I don't think he's been at his best so far, but he's still a solid enough defender to upgrade the level of that defense. But as Colm touched upon it, like there's no real structure there in how to set up defensively, and eventually there's going to be moments in the game where you haven't quite managed the game at that particular moment, and you're going to lose a goal, even though for 80-70 minutes you've basically reduced the other side's chances of scoring to none. But because it's down to the fact that you're just piling bodies at the back rather than having some specific structure there, eventually it's going to break down and teams are going to find gaps. So there isn't really.
My big concerns are, name me a player of ours that's gotten better under Ole. I don't think there is one.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely can't think of a single player. Maybe Martial at number 9. And I don't necessarily.
Martial was looking promising.
I don't necessarily think. I don't think McTominay probably is that a natural progression. You know, was he? I mean, he was Young Player of the Year that Mourinho made up for him. Do you know what I mean? You know, I think he's just stepped into an empty space in midfield, basically.
There's a thing called progression, and there's a thing called I'm just happy to play at the fact that Mourinho's not here, and it's just by default you're getting the credit for making a player better. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So someone like Martial was absolutely awful under Mourinho because he hated him, and there was that tension there. So anyone that would be manager of United, apart from Mourinho, is just going to get a better performance out of.
Equally, I think, plop him at number 9 where he wants to be, and ultimately he plays well there. It's not exactly, it's not a revelation. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think there can be too much credit given there. So my point is, I don't think he's really improved anyone. You look at Klopp, you look at Pep, you look at Pochettino and what he gets out of that Spurs squad, which for like 4 or 5 years, I appreciate he's on an absolute bomb scare at the moment, but for 4 or 5 years, you're getting 110, 120, 130%, and we're looking at teams, that Liverpool midfield, everyone just looks at it and goes, like, how have we been absolutely mugged off by James Milner, Giorgio Wijnaldum, and, well, look, Fabinho looks like an absolute stonker of a player now, but that's just so common, and it's down to the coaching and the system, and I also think the inspiration, and I think that's my other big issue with Ole at the moment, that I'm struggling to see if that's there. Not very hard for us to judge. We don't see inside the dressing room, we don't see the training on the pitch during the week, so it's very hard, but we can only go off what we see at the weekend, and I don't see a committed or inspired bunch of players. I don't see man management there. I don't see that he's getting anything more out of any player than we've seen before, and I don't see that there's any great structure there than ever there was before. If anything, it's less and less on both counts, and that's a big worry for me, that those things, and look, it could be a blip, it could be a lot of it's down to the players, but ultimately it's still the manager who has to manage that, and whilst there are very big positives, with Wan-Bissaka, Maguire and Danny James being, our 3 best players in the last month, and that's the recruitment that he made, cutting out a lot of the deadwood, that's great. But I'm still very, very concerned about those things I've mentioned. No one is getting better. If anything, we're struggling. I appreciate there's an injury crisis.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that because look, if first of all, it is early days in the season. It's only his first real.
Early
All right,
days
he
in
did
this
have a
season,
few
Nick, but
months
it's like
last
8
year.
months. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but look, I think when you've come in last season, you kind of have to just write it off a little bit, yeah, because he's not. Whereas after he's actually had a summer to decide who are the players he wants, who are the players he doesn't want. So for me, really, if we say that this season is a fresh start, we're pretty early in. And yeah, as you say, all of a sudden, Pogba, Martial, who arguably are our best two players, well, attacking wise anyway, all of a sudden are injured, then is it really like a big surprise that we haven't been that great in the last couple of weeks? You're all of a sudden relying on who are really second string players. At the start of the season, we were like quite excited about how young our team was, this young, new, fresh team. Then all of a sudden, Young, Matic, Mata are all back starting in the team. And it's kind of like players that you said, all right, we don't mind if they're like bit part players coming now and again, but when they're starting every week, then it's just going back to the same issues we've had for a couple of years, really. And it's not that surprising that those players who've not delivered for 3 or 4 years are still not delivering under the new kind of regime. I mean, yeah, I do think, in a way, he's been quite unlucky. At the same time, I remember we did the pod just before the transfer window closed, and I kind of said, look, I'm pretty happy with our transfer business. We're probably like one midfielder stroke creative player short. After that, Lukaku left and Sanchez left, and we didn't bring anyone else in. And, for me now, that's looking to be a bit of a mistake that, you get a couple of injuries and all of a sudden you're hoping a 17-year-old Greenwood is going to deliver for you. So, yeah, look, we are thin, basically. The squad is thin. And you can't think that Ole is happy with that. He said himself that even when Lukaku left, and that was before Sanchez left, that, yeah, I'm hoping to get somebody else in. That's the problem. The squad is thin now. You get a couple of injuries. It's going to be difficult. But yeah, it doesn't reflect well on him. And it's the big question we said from last time. Is the management going to give him time to have another window? Even really, should really have 2 more windows before you can really say.
I absolutely hope they do, because I just don't necessarily see that there's anyone else out there. And I think just as a club, we don't need more change unless we're absolutely sure it's going to be the right change. And I do think in terms of the recruitment and the profile that he's going for of other players and the chat that Ole's putting out, I'm very much behind that. See the signings he's talked about and the signings they've identified possibly in the future, January, next summer, whatever. I think that's all.
Yeah, let's say it is the first time we've had a summer and every new signing has come in and done really well.
And that's good. And
we had so many summers where we were even happy about the signings who came in, whether it was Di Maria, Falcao, even like people were pretty excited about Depay's and Schneiderlings. And, there were so many failures year after year. Mkhitaryan, there's a whole bloody list of them. And this was the first time all 3 summer signings have all fitted straight into the team, have improved our first 11, and are all, in fact, possibly like, our 3 best players so far this year.
And I do give credit for that, absolutely. And I think that's a big positive. But that's a positive that kind of needs to be squared away as well, because basically what that's saying to me is Ole would make a great director of football.
Interesting.
And my thing is that at the moment, that's what I see. I see a club man. I see who's great at his PR. I think his press conferences are brilliant. I think he knows the United way. I think he's shown in his willingness to play youth. I think he's shown that he gets it in that sense. I'm totally happy with that. The work over the summer, again, if he had had another 100 million, I bet we'd be looking a lot better now. But he can only work with what he's given by the Glazers at the end of the day and what Ed wants to do. And we just don't know the exact ins and outs of that. But I imagine that he would have wanted 2 or 3 more players, or 1 or 2 more players at the very least. But the players he got rid of, absolutely bang on for me. Absolutely bang on. I think there's more to go in that sense of more players leaving. I could see Matic going. I could see Mata going. I could see Jones just being put in a bin somewhere. And that's fine. I trust him to bring in the players as well. My issue, leaving that aside, I give credit for that 100%. My issue is now we're in the season. Okay, those players are now our players, and we're not worried about transfers anymore, because that's just old news essentially. Now I need to judge the day to day, and I totally appreciate the injury crisis is it's 2 players. It's not really a crisis. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a thin squad. But I accept that, and I accepted that at the start of the year. I'm fine to roll with the punches for a year on that, but I still need to see the players that come in. So say Pogba is out, and say Martial is out, and say like we're just saying, look, our team we haven't got that quality that we want. Okay, but I still need to see us being coached. I still need to see those 11 players that are going out looking like they want to play for the badge, because I thought West Ham was just diabolical in terms of attitude. I don't even think it was a lack of quality. The quality was lacking, but at a base level, I thought the attitude was all wrong. I thought we looked tired, sloppy. Rashford looked very frustrated with all his teammates from about the 7th minute, So a lot of this comes down to the manager's motivation of the team, and to me that's creeping in. And I'm not, saying he needs to be sacked. I actually think he should have the year unless it gets so bad that we just can't carry on, obviously. But these are my reservations at the moment because what I'm watching is no bueno.
Did you do enough, particularly in that first half, to get at them?
No, that's right. We didn't really grasp the moments that we should have, because we played. There were some big spaces there for us to play into, and then it's just that instead of that last pass being clinical enough, it's maybe a square pass or a safe one, which sometimes is the easy option. But we'll improve.
Are you putting on a brave face here? Have you not got real problems at the moment?
No, this is not an Everton last season. Nowhere near. That was different. This is completely different, and we're not that far away.
Obviously, that was the biggest downer. Even though we're not that happy with the performances against Astana and Rochdale, we have actually won those games in the end. But yeah, look, West Ham is the one that was the biggest problem. Yeah, I was there at the Olympic Stadium, first time I've been there, and yeah, I don't think I'll ever go back. It's actually like a bit of a comment on these kind of new stadia. It's a really nice, flashy new stadium, big screen there showing the match, and everything's nice, but I really used to like going to the old Upton Park stroke Berlin ground, where it was one of those old football grounds. There was a really good atmosphere. You were right at the pitch. Now you go there and you're nowhere near the pitch. Our away section is split over 2 tiers, so there's no cohesion between who's singing what. The atmosphere was pretty average for an away day. It just kind of set the tone for the way everything went. And then, of course, when the team don't perform either, it just kind of goes downhill from there. We had a problem with this match last year as well. And in fact, I think last year the same teams caused us trouble. Wasn't it like Mourinho went through that period of having bad results against Palace and Southampton?
As well, I think Pellegrini has beaten Ole, Mourinho, Van Gaal, and maybe Moyes or something. He's just been he just has our number big time.
Yeah, no, he is actually a good, experienced manager, took over and has, just slowly improved that team. But, being in the ground, it was the first time I felt this season that we didn't deserve anything. Because even though we didn't get results against Wolves, Southampton, Palace, I thought we were unlucky and that we created chances, we just couldn't put them away. And that, I just thought, look, it's going to come and this luck is going to change. Whereas this day, I just thought, listen, we just didn't deserve anything. I mean, look, we did have a couple of chances. There was Mata could have scored one. Maguire was unlucky. I think Rashford had a chance in the first half. But, really, this was the day where I felt, no, listen, this is not really going in the right direction at all. I mean, I don't know how you felt about the whole West Ham debacle, Reese.
I just thought we looked like a broken team against West Ham. That game for me was the biggest showcase of how disjointed we look in an attacking sense. We just lacked ideas and cohesion, and it was only when Dan James went up front when we actually looked like we had a bit of spark about us in attack, which says it all really. You shouldn't be relying on a guy who's come from the Championship and is a winger playing up front to suddenly start playing with a bit of tempo. The energy wasn't right. We were getting bullied by Mark Noble yet again. That guy loves playing against United, and I was just sick and tired of seeing United giving up once again at West Ham away. We always seem to struggle in that fixture, even under Fergie, to be fair. But I don't know, that game showed a lot to me in terms of where this side is going to ultimately finish, I think.
I mean, it was a killer that Rashford got injured in that game as well. But I know there was a lot of chat about Rashford on the last podcast. But just since you went on it, Reese, we did have this question from DSG on Red Cafe. He said, is Marcus Rashford the next Danny Welbeck? So look, where are you on Rashford at the moment? I mean, I've been defending him all season. I know Ed, for example, is not a fan at all. I mean, I still, again, remember that Rashford that came through under Van Gaal. And to me, he looked like an absolute natural finisher. Somebody who should be playing up front. He had all the movement, and it wasn't just for us as well either. It was like his England under 21 debuts, his England debuts. He was scoring all over the place. But then, for a couple of years, Mourinho's played him out wide. He's even ended up playing bloody wing back or something here and there. And I'd say he kind of progressed maybe as an all-round as a player, but he's definitely lost that kind of killer touch in the box. And now, you're seeing those last few weeks where he's been relied on at number 9, and he's just, not been hitting it at all. I mean, what do you think? First of all, what do you think is his best position? And do you think he's just in a run of bad form, or?
No, I think he's regressing towards what his actual level is as a player. I don't know if you know, but I'm the author of the "It's Time to Burst Rashford's Bubble" thread, which is
go on. That's why I directed this question at you.
I think he's one of the most mismanaged young players that I've seen in world football, to be honest with you, because he's someone who is a really weird player in the sense that he's got an amazing range of skill, but he doesn't quite know when to use certain skills at what time. So his decision making is completely poor. Now, a lot of people said, well, Cristiano Ronaldo, when he was 18, he didn't know what he was doing, but that's absolute rubbish. If you watch Ronaldo's debut against Bolton, that debut against Bolton is better than anything Rashford's ever produced. And he's 21 now? And Ronaldo was 18. And Ronaldo knew when to use skills and stuff. He just overdid it. It's completely different to Rashford, who in a 90-minute game, he'll have maybe 3 or 4 minutes where he's able to produce something which makes sense. But most of the time, he doesn't quite know what he's doing. He's just making it up as he goes along, game in, game out. And he's relying on his physicality a lot. Now, in terms of what I would do with him, I would simplify his game massively. I'd say to him, look, mate, like, you're not this big shot that you think you are. You're not a top player. The best way for you to become a good, effective player at the highest level is to become a workhorse. Turn him into a Park Ji-sung, but with more athletic capacity. So I'd probably put him at the right wing slot. And I'd say to him, all you need to do is track your attacking fullback from the opponent side back and forth. And when you do have a chance, use your pace to get a cross in or get a shot in if you need to. But your job is to serve the rest of the team. And you're basically like a player that works extremely hard for the team. You're not the star man of the team. And really just bring his ego down and turn him into a hard-working team player.
Well, no, to be fair, he has already shown that under Mourinho, especially that he can really be disciplined and do the defensive work.
Absolutely.
I even remember like going to bloody Anfield and he was pretty much playing like fullback or something in a Mourinho Park the Bus special back that day. But for me, though, like, it's because of that he's regressed. I mean, do you not remember the player who came through as a youngster? He's like, and I don't agree with, by the way, you said what? Ronaldo's debut against Bolton was better than anything Rashford's ever delivered. I mean, I was there on the day Ronaldo made that debut, and I still remember all the step overs and whatever. Yeah, he looked exciting, but I don't think anybody ever thought from that day he was going to go on to what he did. But do you not remember Rashford's debuts? He was like, what was it, Arsenal or something? He came through, scored 2 goals. He like won a derby against City. Even for like England under 21s in his first matches, he was scoring like not even like 1 goal. I'm pretty sure he scored like a hat trick or something in his under 21 debut. So this was the player who first came through, was scoring goals all over the place until he was moved out wide and constantly played there for the best part of the last 2-3 years.
I think that's a problem though with just English football fans generally, in the sense that we look at young players come through and they're scoring goals and we automatically think they're a top player instead of looking at the overall ability of a player and what they're bringing to the game. So, for example, someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, when I first saw him play, I thought, oh my God, this guy's going to be the best player in the world. Now, did I think he was going to turn into the player he became in terms of scoring 60 goals a season? Hell no, like that would take Nostradamus. But did I think he was going to be the best player in the world? Yes, I did, because I looked at this guy's footwork, I looked at this guy's skill level, and I thought, flipping out, this guy is a once in a generational talent. When I saw Rashford play, I didn't ever think that at any stage. Now, you mentioned the player he was when he first came through under Van Gaal. Completely agree. Like, he showed that he was a natural finisher. He was getting in good positions. He was finishing with a lot of composure, with almost like a ice cold sort of composure in front of goal. But you've got to realize, we've seen players like Makeda come through and stuff like that, where these young players, they can just come in purely based on confidence, fearlessness, and they can have that sort of impact. But once they start being found out, in the sense that other teams are getting used to how they're playing, are able to scout what their strengths and weaknesses are, then eventually, even if he had stayed up front, his weaknesses probably would have still come to the fore. Now, I totally agree with you that with Mourinho shifting him out wide, that regression has probably happened quicker and made it a more permanent damage. I do get that analysis. But what I'm saying to you is we can't just assume it was only because of that happening that Rashford now has begun to stagnate.
It's a tough one because it's hard to take your sort of personal bias. I really like Rashford. So I'm not sure if I'm always that fair when I'm talking about it. But we're talking about, I mean, the two players you've referenced there were Ronaldo and Makeda. Do you know what I mean? And I just think we're so often
all or nothing,
keen to do that. It's so polarized. Do you know what I mean? So if we're not hitting this height, then we're this low, and if we're this low, then we can never be this high. And it's a very black and white and a very polarized way to look at football and to judge particularly young talents. Race, you said there, that he has this wide range of skills. He can effectively do anything, but that it's a decision making problem. And to hear you say that on the one hand, and then say, so what we should do is just tell him to stop doing any of that and become workhorse, to me is such an odd take. Do you not think we should just coach him on his decision making, or do you just think that will never come?
No, it's a really difficult. Like, I used to be a football coach, and it's a really difficult aspect to coach because some players, they just have ridiculous amount of skill, but they just really don't know how to use it, and it's very, very hard for them to ever just completely clock on as to when I need to use a skill in a particular context. And that sort of decision making, they should have that in their locker really by the age of like 14 max, really.
See, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think he's so criminally bad in that sense. I think a lot of the time, I think Rashford is going to be unfortunately typified by the era he played in, essentially. And in many ways, it's the only reason he's had a chance is because of how bad Manchester United have been. They haven't had a game of a chance at all, and that he's maintained that through every manager we've had since. So in the one sense, whilst I think he was always a hotly touted prospect, I don't think if we had him maintained our, the Fergie years or whatever, would he necessarily have the role that he has in the team now? I highly doubt it. But also, he's suffered through the worst Manchester United, in the last probably, 20 years. And I think he's now so typified by that, and I think he's almost like this perfect representation on the pitch of our problems as a football club, that he's just so...
I agree.
He's so wandering now, and I was watching him against West Ham before he went off injured, and he was getting so frustrated from about the first minute, which I just think is such a bad look. Even if, and I totally understand it, but you have to get over that and you have to be better than that because he is now a leader in this team, and I was so disappointed by that. But then equally, he was getting himself frustrated, and he'd run 70 yards to track a man, put a slide tackle in, and he'd get a big clap. And then the next 3 times we attacked, he didn't make a single move, didn't make one dart in the 6-yard box, didn't get across the front man, didn't make a run in behind. Maybe because he's completely busted from doing that work. But to me, it's like this totally flawed sense of, what I should be doing. And to me, it's the only thing he can control in that team is his own personal work. So he'll make that run, he'll hound the whole back four and then go right to the keeper. The keeper will kick it long and he'll be absolutely busted. When he is in a position to receive the ball somewhere and he takes a poor touch or he runs it out, it's because he's exhausted and people go, oh, that's just Rashford with our crap touch. And actually it's because he's totally misusing his energies and his powers. And that's one thing that is in such stark contrast to Greenwood that makes me really like Greenwood, is that he seems to be able to, at a very young age, kind of rise above what is necessary because he understands that he has to be sharp for this moment, or he might only get one chance and he takes it. And Rashford is like the complete antithesis of that at the moment. He is just bumbling around, an absolute hot mess. But I do think it's as much about this kind of built-up frustration and lack of quality behind him. I know you can't just put it all on other players, but there's certain players in our team who I would be very keen to kind of absolve of quite a lot of guilt because of the, overall level at which we play. Pogba's another one, Martial probably another. I think if you drop them on other teams, I'm quite convinced if he mightn't start, that's a good argument. In fact, he wouldn't start. But if you drop Rashford into Liverpool's team or City's team, he's going to look 10 times the player, because I just think it's just a horrible team to play in at the moment.
It is a horrible team, but I disagree with that comment about dropping Rashford into Liverpool side. He would only work in these other teams if he was a squad player and he played in a very limited sense. If you put Rashford instead of Firmino, that team breaks down completely because he just doesn't have the intelligence to play.
No, he's a very different kind of player, so it's difficult to compare.
He's also 21. Do you know what I mean? I think that's another thing we forget. Rashford has played, probably approaching 100 games or whatever.
The age argument's used a lot with Rashford, but I disagree with it because he's played like 4 years at the highest level, pretty much, and he's been a regular starter for much of it. So, if we were to compare him at 21 compared to the likes of Rooney and Ronaldo and Messi, because that's what the level what he's getting paid at in terms of salary, and that's the expectation that is thrust upon him. And I get the fact that he's playing for a broken team, but you've got to realize Rooney and Ronaldo came into pretty much a team that was coming to the end of its cycle in 03, 04.
Yeah, but again, we're talking about generational talent here, and I appreciate what you're saying about him being paid that, but that's as much about football inflation as it is about how good they are. You know, you're comparing his wages at 18 to someone 10 years, 15 years ago's wages at 18, so that's not in any way a fair comparison, I don't think.
But we're treating him like a once-in-a-generational talent when he's not, and that's what's mismanaging him.
No, I totally agree about that.
But if we were being more realistic with him, and the way we managed him was more realistic. And
it's also a lot to do though where the club is at the moment, isn't it? You know, that these kind of players, it is a big part of what Ole wants to do now. Young players is the focus. Anyone like that who's coming through the academy is being given a lot more of a benefit of the doubt, and the club want to keep hold of them. And yeah, that I kind of agree with, even if it is Jesse Lingard, who's obviously not delivering.
He's still young and up and coming, isn't he?
You know, I'll still give him like more kind of benefit than somebody else who was a signing or something. But yeah, Rashford, I think we're definitely going to have to agree to disagree, because yeah, I'm still a big fan of Rashford. I think he's been going through a slightly bad run of form, and yeah, that there's been a lot of pressure put on him with Martial, Pogba out to just be basically the one who delivers. I mean, I guess he's going to have a few weeks out now anyway, so yeah, we'll see what difference it makes to the team. But yeah, look, it is a big debate at the moment. As I said, I was at that Astana game. I did actually have quite a heated discussion with somebody behind me. I mean, yeah, to be fair, I'd had a few drinks, but he was really slagging off Rashford a lot, and I was not happy about it at all. But
well, I can see it, and I do think there is a bad attitude seeping in there as well that I see now sometimes, where I think his frustration is coming out in a negative sense, and that's not helping anyone, and mostly him. So I do kind of get sometimes where people are coming from with that. And as I say, I'm very aware that I like him, and I've liked him the whole time he's been there.
I don't think the situation's irreversible with him. I just think the right manager needs to come in.
I think everyone in our squad needs that.
Well, there is still also, you know, like I say, this big question mark over what is his best position, and that is actually a big problem with our squad.
I think he's a left forward. I do think he's a left forward.
Well, yeah, look, there's at least 4 or 5 players where we're still saying where should they be playing, you know, and we have about 7 players who are probably best playing left wing. Nobody who's really any good on the right wing, and this is one of our big issues.
And James sends Manchester United through. There's no rush towards James. Tells the story, really. They have squeezed through. But it took penalties to put out brave League One Rochdale.
This penalty shootout, I'd say I wasn't feeling particularly confident myself, because we've not had a particularly good record in penalty shootouts over the years. I still remember being at Old Trafford for one of the worst set of penalties I've ever seen in my life. I think it was when we went out to Sunderland and Phil Jones did possibly the worst penalty I've seen ever. The only time we've ever had any luck was out in Moscow, but yeah, it wasn't at home at Old Trafford, that's for sure. But yeah, maybe Romero is the one. He's always had a good record in penalty shootouts. I'd say he's actually way better than David De Gea on actually saving penalties. I think De Gea is one of his weaknesses. He never seems to get anywhere near any penalties, whereas
he lacks the personality for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe it's just, I think, is his style as well. Whereas Romero has got this record for Argentina in years of always pulling off some save in a penalty shootout somewhere. But yeah, thankfully we did come. The one thing I quickly wanted to mention though was I think wasn't it slightly bizarre that Paul Pogba didn't take a penalty and 5 penalty takers? You know, what's that all about?
I think that's mad. I mean, do we think he asked not to because of the recent misses and he's just back and the team's under a lot of pressure, or do we think...
I just assumed he was going to be stepping up somewhere, and even when he got to number 5 I just thought, it has to be Pogba. But yeah, no, he didn't take any of them. There's something
I didn't even notice that.
That was something that picked out, and I just couldn't believe that he wasn't one of the 5.
I mean, I was sort of glad because, like, look, obviously we won the shootout, so it doesn't really matter. But if Pogba misses a penalty in that, then it's another blow, like, to the team's morale and to the season. I think, you know, that's silly to say after like 4 games, but because it has been a kind of a controversial topic and everyone is struggling for form, you know, I think that was probably in the end a good decision. But it is weird.
Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting if we get a penalty against Arsenal, because obviously Rashford's out now, to see who actually takes it.
Greenwood.
But yeah, I do want to give some props as well to Rochdale. I think I briefly mentioned it, but normally the stereotype is you get these lower league clubs coming, parking the bus, proper clodders, like, fouling our players and all, but they came and actually probably played more expansive football than we were doing at Old Trafford. And this 16-year-old kid as well, since we're talking about youngsters, we should give him a shout out, Matheson, who's come in and scored their equaliser. But no, look, anyway, at least we did get through this match. But yeah, look, let's look ahead. The Arsenal game becomes pretty important for that kind of top four. They're one of our main rivals in that, I say top six even now, really. They've not had a great run of form, although, yeah, they did manage to pull out a win against Aston Villa with 10 men last week. But before that, they had a draw with Tottenham, managed to throw away a 2-goal lead against Watford, and lost to Liverpool before that. I mean, Aubameyang's always good for a goal or two. But yeah, their defence is looking pretty dodgy as it has for years. How are you feeling confident for that Arsenal match, Colm?
No, not at all. If Martial was back, if we were back, I think I would be. But based on this week, I don't know how anyone could feel confident about that match whatsoever. I think Arsenal are stronger than us, and in terms of squad depth, Emery's under quite a lot of pressure as well. There's a lot of chat that the two manager, it's like a sack off basically. But they have players come back. Kieran Tierney hasn't played at all for them.
I think he played yesterday in the cup game for them.
So I'm fearful. I think they just they're a lot heavier than us up front. I think as bad as they've been, I think they at least have a bit more of a structure and a way about them. And I just think we're super fragile at the moment. Would be a great result. And if anyone, in many ways, it'll be easier for us to play a bigger team at the moment. Where the pressure's taken off us a wee bit. And well, it's a different kind of pressure, I suppose. But we're not necessarily playing a team who's going to surrender possession and sit in two banks or whatever else. And hopefully, I could see it being a very, very open game and a relatively high-scoring game. But at the moment, I just wouldn't fancy us to match them in terms of the attacking output. I think it'll need to be a big game from our back four. It'd be interesting to see what Ole does in terms of team selection. If Matic is in there, if he tries to really flood the midfield and try and really hit them on the counter, I imagine that's the way we'll play.
Yeah, I mean, I think seeing Matic not being anywhere in the squad today probably signals he is going to play in that game, which I'm not pretty happy about. I mean, yeah, the one player actually I did have written down that I wanted to chat about that we've not talked about is Fred, because we haven't seen anything of him for the first month or so. And then, yeah, he has played a fair bit this week. I mean, Reese, do you think Fred should be coming into the team? Where are you at on Matic, Fred? I mean, I'm assuming, I would say McTominay is a lock in the team. Pogba's definitely going to play, and then the only question is whether it's a 2-man, 3-man midfield. I mean, how do you think we should be setting up for this Arsenal game?
For me, Fred should definitely be number one name in United's midfield, not because I rate him that highly as a player. I just think, considering the state of United's midfield, he's an absolute must because he brings dynamism, brings a bit of personality to the team. When he's on the ball, he's trying to be positive with it. I think we saw today, I think he was one of our better players in midfield. I think he gives a lot of drive to the team.
Still got caught out and almost let them straight in on goal, which I think is what we all expect. I was just about to say that. Yeah. Which, if he doesn't do that once every 90 minutes, I start to get worried because that seems to be like just a fatal flaw.
His trademark. Yeah, I think he's basically a brain fart midfielder. Like, he's gonna 3 or 4 times a game, he's gonna F up massively. But on the plus side, he gives you a lot in terms of he does give that midfield character. I feel like when he's not there in the side, there's no real like structure in terms of the build up. Yeah. The defenders don't really know who to pass it to. You'll see sometimes Pogba amble in. Oh, give me the ball. I'll be the pivot.
But so slow. And I think as a pivot, he's definitely the most. He has a real nice left foot kind of whip ball. He's very happy to play it really along the line, very close to defenders, but then out wide and with a good bit of pace, which I think we just lack so much.
Yeah. So for me, it would be Fred and Pogba definitely in the midfield, and then for me, it would be McTominay versus Gomez, depending on the situation of a game. Do you want to strengthen up the core of the midfield defensively, or do you want to gamble a bit, push Pogba slightly deeper and give him another player to play off in the middle? So those 4 players are the 4 that I would concentrate based on the current squad that we have in terms of midfield places for the first team.
I think it's definite that McTominay will play this Arsenal game. Yeah, in the long term, I do understand what you're saying. I think for sure McTominay is going to start. Pogba I assume will. And then I would prefer to see Fred in there. I would actually like to see McTominay, Fred, and I would actually push Pogba on. For me,
Yeah.
he is the one who should be playing maybe in that number 10, which is
Yeah.
that problem position for us. I would now go in that way. McTominay, Fred, push him on. James has to play. Greenwood is going to play up front. And then, somebody else gets thrown in, whether it's
I
Pereira,
think it'll be
Mata,
Pereira. If he starts Mata, it's a death sentence. I mean, if he starts Mata and Matic, I can definitely see him starting Matic. I think he will. And in many
I think
ways,
he will because he hasn't played today.
Yeah.
I don't want him to, but I think
I
it's a
don't
sign
really
that
want him to,
Matic
but I
is-
think it's one of those ones where after the 90 minutes you could look back on and go, actually, do you know what? Probably the right decision. You know, it doesn't look good, but it helps us. And as much as Matic, his numbers never look great. You know, you always see McTominay getting these many interceptions, these many tackles, these many duels won, but Matic does read a lot of things and cut them off before that even becomes a thing. Now he's totally slow, but there's still positives there with Matic when you put him in the right setup for the right game. But Mata, I think, it's the end of the road now, and certainly if you get both of them in, I think we just get bypassed so easily. And it is quite a combative Arsenal now. You see, it's not really like what they used to be. We could just go and bully them. They are quite dynamic now. Xhaka, as much as he's an absolute bomb scare, does get it through a lot of work, and I could see us kind of losing out on that if we don't have the players who are going to put in that effort. So I would definitely want to see Pereira in over the likes of Mata or Lingard instead of Pereira. If it's going to be Greenwood, Lingard, and Daniel James, with Pogba maybe pushed on would be my ideal. But certainly then Pereira, then Mata as a last resort.
What about a diamond? So, for example, if you did put Matic in, Matic pivot, Fred and McTominay either side, with Pogba in behind, James and Greenwood.
Yeah, but I mean, the only thing is it's so far away from anything we've done under Ole. I just can't see him all of a sudden switching to something like that. He's mostly been playing like kind of 2-3-1. I wouldn't be surprised to see him try a more kind of 4-3-3, but maybe a diamond is something in the future, but I can't see him doing that now all of a sudden.
Not as a permanent formation. It's
just for the game.
When you're up against Arsenal, I feel like Fergie always tried to experiment against Arsenal, be compact.
Yeah, and we always had a great record against Arsenal over the years. It's one of those.
Equally, I think at the moment we're having our players keep a lot of width, but we're so bad with it. We really do nothing. I thought actually in the second half tonight, Brandon Williams really forced the issue. I thought he really tired after about 20 minutes and basically stopped making any kind of overlapping ones. But for the first 20 minutes, I thought he was absolutely fantastic, and it was actually really refreshing to see a fullback just immediately bomb past, and he was tried to be slipped in a few times by Pereira, but even when he wasn't, it just immediately took that second Rochdale defender away, opened up the space for pretty much everyone. And Wan-Bissaka was actually doing the same on the right when Chong and James were over there. And to me, it was so obvious that obviously they'd had a word at half time, but I just don't understand why we don't do that pretty much all the time. That should be the base expectation for a fullback at Manchester United, and we just don't. So much of Wan-Bissaka's attacking has looked so dreadful this year, but I really don't blame him in the slightest, because he's just been asked to do the whole right wing on his own, and usually marked at least by one person, if not two, because there's no right winger. I just like to see us really nail down what we actually want to do. But I thought Brandon Williams, just because we didn't mention it, was really, really decent when he came on.
Yeah, it's true actually. Like I say, he came in. I think it's because Dallo was injured, so he made it onto the bench and did really well second half. In fact, I'm assuming Jones was injured at half time, but it's possible it was a tactical decision from Ole. I don't know. I just made the obvious assumption that Jones is injured, but it's possible he decided to go for a more attacking fullback. Although even Rojo was having some of his 40-yard pot shots. One of those will go in one day, right?
Just not for us.
I was thinking that as well, Jimmy.
But look, it's Arsenal, right? Whatever happens, I think you're saying what? You think their squad is a lot stronger than ours at the moment, Colm?
Oh yeah, comfortably.
I think, look, in terms of squad depth, we are definitely lacking in the forward and midfield. So, I do see what you're saying. I think Lacazette is out for them at the moment. That Pepe hasn't done too much yet. But,
Nope.
Aubameyang is always scoring. So, he's the one who kind of gets them out of trouble again and again. Their defence, though, we've got to be able to get at that defence. When they're bringing in somebody like David Luiz to shore it up, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting game, because like us, like Chelsea, like Spurs, aside from City and Liverpool, everyone looks kind of hopeless. So,
Yeah, that is the good thing. That is the good thing that, last week, even though we lost,
everyone lost.
Yeah, well,
It's
Arsenal
West
did
Ham
pull
and
out a
Leicester.
result.
Those
in
are the
end.
ones we need to be looking at. They're the teams that are going to usurp us.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are talking about West Ham's. Well, people were actually talking about Everton pre-season, but they've totally fucked it already. But yeah, there is quite a few. I think Leicester, for me, do look like a good shout for pushing
they're a good
towards
outfit,
top six. But yeah, we shouldn't be too worried at the moment, even though we've not had a great couple of months. We're still, we get a result in a game like this, and then in a few weeks' time,
It's tough run of fixtures though. We have Liverpool. It's like, so is it Arsenal, maybe Norwich, then Liverpool, Bournemouth,
Newcastle.
Yeah,
We've got Arsenal. Then it's we go away to Alkmaar in the Europa. Newcastle. Then it's international break and Liverpool. So it's not an easy run at all. But like you say, sometimes I think maybe the Ole team is better to set up for playing on the break against the teams that come and play a bit, rather than the part the bus kind of ones where we really have big difficulty with.
Is it Arsenal home and away, Nick? Is it at home? Is it?
Well, Arsenal at home, Newcastle away, Liverpool at home. You'd say off recent form that we shouldn't be too positive, but we always seem to do pretty well against Arsenal. And I always have an annual bet with a good Gooner mate of mine of who finishes high, United or Arsenal. And I've lost that bet for about 3 years in a row now, which used to be a right lock that we would win that one every time. So, yeah.
Is it Robbie or Troops?
Yeah. Arsenal Fan TV. Let's get them on there. Look, all right, then let's finish off with a couple of predictions. Reese, what do you think for this game, United-Arsenal?
I think it's going to be a draw. The reason being, I think they're a better team than us. I agree with Colm, but we're at home, and it's going to take a tough, really bad game from us to basically lose against Arsenal at home. So I'm going to put some faith in the boys. I think we'll get a draw.
All right. Draw from Reese. What do you think, Colm?
Yeah, 2-2, score draw.
Yeah, look, I think we can get a win here. I actually hit for the first time in many years. I actually got many weeks. I got the prediction right. I'd said 1-0 Leicester, so I'm going for 1-0 Arsenal that will win again. So I got it right last time, but it's probably unlikely I'll hit 2 in a row. But I'm not going to predict anything apart from a win at home. I think hopefully we get, like I say, Pogba coming back in.
We just drew 1-1 with Rochdale at home. What are you on about?
Yeah. But look, second string team. So let's forget that one.
Second. Yeah, okay.
You're right. Actually, it was actually a lot stronger team than I was expecting. To be fair, I think a couple of the players who might have played, like Gomez, Dalot, were actually out. So I think he was then forced to play people like Wan-Bissaka, who probably wouldn't have played in this match otherwise. Look, fair play to Rochdale. We did have a ton of chances, although you wouldn't say they were like clear cut. No. And Wan-Bissaka did have that ridiculous goal line clearance as well, we shouldn't forget. So we could have actually easily lost that game in the end. So I was trying to just skirt over that and forget it all and try and look at the positives, Colm. Yeah. But you brought it right at the end there. But we'll come back for the next one, probably maybe after Arsenal or let's see after Alkmaar or something like that. We'll see where we come in. But thanks, Reese, for your appearance here.
No worries, pleasure.
We'll try and get you back on at some point later in the season as well. Please do keep your questions coming. As usual, as I say, hit us up on Twitter and Facebook. There's always some discussion going on Red Cafe over there. I hope to see when we come back for the next one.
Before I go, can I just give a shout out to the Kibbs group?
The Kibbs group?
The Kibbs group, yeah. They know who they are. They're a Red Cafe massive, and they wanted me to give them a shout out.
I'm also going to give a shout out to the Norwegians then, Chew.
All right. Good. Nice. Shouts out over there. All right. Night all.
Cheerio.
Night.